Agatha All Along episode 3. Big spoiler warnings right away because we are diving right into it in 3, 2, 1. Poor Sharon. She was just a sweet little muggle who got brought into this by Agatha, essentially kidnapped, and she actually does say that in the beginning. But I want to hear from you. Do you think she is actually dead, or do you think she returns by the end of the series? Now, in this episode, we learned some really big things about Agatha and about Teen as well. They're very subtle hints that maybe not a lot of people picked up on, but we did get that big name drop, Mephisto. He is officially canon to the MCU now. We all had our theories about WandaVision, about Mephisto being behind everything, but in this series, he actually might be behind a good amount of Agatha's backstory. They say that she traded her son, Nicholas Scratch, for the Darkhold. And the question is, who did she trade him to? Sounds like it probably was Mephisto. Who else could have had the Darkhold and been in the position to actually trade it to her? And this is the most important part about this episode. And we're gonna dive a lot more into it, but let's break down how this episode begins. It starts off with our witches and Sharon on the road. After escaping the Salem 7, they're there now. And the elephant in the room is that Sharon is clearly not a witch, and she has no idea where she's at and what she has just gotten into. Unfortunately, it does end with her death, or so we think for now. But the other witches obviously realize that she is just a regular human, which puts them in jeopardy because they need a green witch. That is why Jennifer says that they are all in jeopardy, because you're supposed to have one of each certain type of witch. And in this episode, we specifically learn why. The road is going to test them on their fears, which we see in this episode, but also on their knowledge of the craft. And it's going to test them through different trials. One trial for each skill. And that is why it is a big problem that they don't actually have a green witch. The perfect example is what we just saw in this episode. They just went through the first trial, which was a potions trial. Jennifer is the potions witch. We learned the rule that you can't walk off the road. Bad things happen, just ask Sharon. But the house appears out of nowhere. Alice asks if that was there before, and Agatha says we should probably stop asking that question, implying that that's going to happen a lot on the road. Things are just going to appear, and they're going to be trials. So they go into the house, which is the first trial, and they're all poisoned by the wine. We learn that everybody who is in the coven has to participate in the trial, or it won't work. So they all get poisoned, and it's up to the potion master to be able to save everybody, and she does. Jennifer ends up saving everybody based on the knowledge that she has. And it's important to emphasize that they don't have any powers. And Teen says that they're going to actually have to use witchcraft with a focus on the craft, meaning they're going to actually have to physically do things rather than just waving their hand and using actual magic, because none of them really have magic at this point. That's why they're all on the witch's road to get it back. But as you can see, if Jennifer wasn't there as a master of potions, they all would have died. So eventually they'll get to a trial that is going to be focused on the green witch's abilities, but they don't have one right now. However, we do know that Aubrey Plaza's character Rio is a green witch. That's already been revealed, and through the trailers we've seen that she is on the witch's road, so clearly she gets there somehow. So as for now, they're in trouble, but I'm assuming she'll show up in some type of magical way later because she still has her powers. But this episode did a really good job of showing us why they actually need one of each witch, one of each specialty for the road. Now here's where things get really, really interesting. And I've got some theories about what happened in this episode. The first thing we have to talk about is the sigil placed upon Teen. Someone put a sigil on him, and right now we do not know who did it. Agatha claims that a sigil is beneath her, and they do explain that it's a redaction curse. And I believe Agatha in this instance, because in the previous episodes where his name was redacted, or when he was speaking about who he was and where he was from, she couldn't hear him. And when that happened, she looked incredibly confused. So I do believe that it wasn't her who put the sigil on him. But they do explain that it's a redaction curse, so somebody clearly doesn't want anyone, but probably specifically Agatha and her coven, to know who this character is. That's why nobody can hear his name, and that's why Agatha before could not hear him say anything about who he actually is. But there is something very important to note. He consistently speaks about his dad. He mentions his dad a few times, never mentioning his mother, although he does say at some point in time when Jennifer says somebody needs to call this kid's parents, he does say that I'm pretty sure they mayor asleep. However, I wouldn't be surprised if we find out that he doesn't have a mom or he doesn't know who his mother is, because I believe that they are trying to convince us that Teen is the son of Agatha, the son that she gave up for the Darkhold, which brings us to Agatha's fear, her nightmare that she encounters in the first test. When Jennifer is warning Teen about who Agatha really is and what she's done, Billy actually says that he knows all about her, and Billy has shown us that he has done extensive research on Agatha, and it makes you wonder why. Does he just admire her as a witch, or does he believe that he is connected to her somehow? So Jennifer says, do you know that she traded her own child for the Book of the Damned? And the Book of the Damned is the Darkhold. They are one and the same thing. It's also sometimes in the comics referred to as the Book of Sins. It's an ancient and evil book, and it contains the most powerful dark magic spells and is considered the most powerful record of dark magic in the Marvel Universe. And it's said that anyone who reads it will lose their mind or their soul. And that is kind of the explanation as to why Wanda kind of went evil. Well, not kind of, she did. She murdered people in Multiverse of Madness. Because at the end of WandaVision, she took the Darkhold from Agatha. But she kind of made right by the end by destroying the Darkhold in every single universe. Now, in the comics, Mephisto did not create the book. It was originally created by the elder god Chthon. And still not sure how we're pronouncing that name. Some people say it's Chthon, but I'm going to go ahead and just say Chthon, the ancient elder god who billions of years ago put all of the dark magic knowledge at the time on that book. Eventually, though, that book gets passed down and Mephisto does get possession of it, which is why I do think Agatha traded her son for the Darkhold. Now, when Jennifer tells this to Teen, he does look surprised, but he also kind of looks disappointed. And again, I believe that he believes he could be the daughter of Agatha, somehow reincarnated in some way. Or perhaps his father told him something about Agatha that made him believe that. So he does look kind of disappointed in this scene, thinking, no way Agatha could have done that, because he probably might be thinking, no way Agatha could have done that to me. And Jennifer says, well, that's what everybody says, and nobody knows what happened to Agatha's son. Some say he might be dead. Some say he might be a demon or an agent of Mephisto. And it's funny how she just drops that name, like every witch would probably know that name. And Teen is looking to the side, but when she says Mephisto, he actually looks at her, very concerned. Now, what's really interesting is they seemingly do confirm this. When Agatha goes through her nightmare, she sees a cradle that should have a baby inside of it, but when she goes to look inside of it, it's the Darkhold. And this seemingly does confirm that she traded her child for the Darkhold, but in the comics, her son is Nicholas Scratch. And in WandaVision, we saw a bunny that she had who she named Senor Scratchy. Even in the first episodes of Agatha All Along, we do see the rabbit again, who is simply referred to as Mr. Scratch or Scratch. This led me and a lot of people to believe that somehow her son might have been turned into a rabbit. But perhaps Agatha is simply calling the rabbit after her son because she kind of misses her son, because this nightmare, this vision that she has here is clearly her feeling terrible about trading her son for the Darkhold. Again, the only question is, who did she trade with? Well, as I explained, ultimately, Mephisto does get the Darkhold in the comics. And let's be honest, all the theories about Mephisto that we put out there for WandaVision, Marvel Studios heard, and they've commented about the Mephisto rumors and the theories plenty of times. So it actually would make sense that Mephisto would work his way into the story for Agatha All Along, since it is a spinoff of WandaVision. And quite honestly, it fits very perfectly into the story. However, I don't believe, as I've been saying, that Teen is the son of Agatha. I think when the sigil finally gets removed, we're going to find out that his name, of course, is Billy. And one of the trailers for Agatha All Along, if you put on the captions and turn it to a language like Spanish, they actually say Billy. They say his name is Billy, and this is where Mephisto and the Scarlet Witch come into play again. In the comics, Mephisto does actually create Wanda's kids. They are shards of his soul, and eventually he does take them back. But eventually we get Billy Kaplan, aka Wiccan, and then we get his brother Speed, and they eventually get reunited with Wanda, and they realize that they are the reincarnated children of Wanda, and they all get together and get to be a family. I think that is exactly what is happening here, and it's just kind of wishful thinking, by Agatha that he could in fact be her son. Because if you notice, there are plenty of times in this episode where she actually takes interest in him and is concerned for him, concerned for his well-being. And she even mentions some things in the beginning that lets you believe that she's kind of liking him now. She says the road suits you. And when everybody is wondering about the sigil, she puts her arm in front of him, puts him behind her, and says, look, I don't really know what this kid is. I don't know if he's special or just a pest that some witch wanted to get rid of. But I'm guessing to think that she thinks he's special and could possibly be her son. But he's not. He's going to be the son of the Scarlet Witch, which I think is going to be a really, really big reveal at the end. Agatha is going to realize it's not her son, but then she's going to realize that is the Scarlet Witch's son and that he could be insanely powerful. Because remember, according to her in WandaVision, the Scarlet Witch is supposed to be a myth and is not supposed to exist. And as far as Agatha was concerned, the Scarlet Witch was the only person who could defeat her because she is indeed the Scarlet Witch. But since Agatha wants to get her powers back, she might look to Billy at the end, the son of the Scarlet Witch, to get his powers, to get a little bit of the Scarlet Witch's powers. And this could also very much lead to the solo Scarlet Witch film, or the continuation of her story, which many different insiders say is going to happen. Both insiders Daniel RPK and My Time to Shine Hello have confirmed a solo Scarlet Witch movie is in the works, and My Time to Shine Hello just today stated that there are going to be more shows about Wanda, and that Wanda is going to be a very prominent character for the remainder of the multiverse saga, and even after the multiverse saga, when we enter the mutant saga. So I think this all might be leading up to a pretty epic finale, but also setting up the return of the Scarlet Witch and the reunion with her and her family. But we'll have to wait till the end of the series for that. 6 more episodes to go. Go ahead, let me know what you thought about episode 3 in the comments down below. Are you liking it? Are you not? Let us know. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you can stay up to date with Agatha All Along and of course the overall MCU. And you can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.